They say the ground here never sleeps.
You are trespassing. The Ancient One awakens.
You are next.
My God, it's real.
The legendary guardian of the cave. I am shaking. Come out! Come out! Wherever you are!
Temperature's dropping fast. I don't know how much longer.
Do you believe now?
There are curses that time cannot erase. Curses that live in stone and soil, that wait with infinite patience for the next fool who dares to mock them. In the red hills of Robertson County, Tennessee, where tobacco fields give way to limestone caves and dark forests, there is a place where the dead speak, where something that called itself Kate still whispers promises of vengeance from the darkness beneath the earth. The Bell Witch, America's most documented supernatural encounter. For 4 years in the early 1800s, an invisible entity tormented the Bell family with a fury that defied explanation. It spoke in voices both human and inhuman. It attacked with invisible hands. It predicted the future. It cursed John Bell to his grave, and on the day he died, it laughed. When the haunting ended in 1821, the entity claimed it would return in 107 years. True to its word, manifestations began again in 1928. But something had changed. The witch no longer confined itself to the Bell farm. It had found a new home, a limestone cavern on the property, a cave that yawned open like a mouth, exhaling cold air that smelled of earth and rot and something older than memory. The Bell Witch Cave, where Kate still lives, where her voice still echoes, and where anyone foolish enough to mock her legend learns that some promises of vengeance are kept forever. Do not laugh in that cave. Do not speak her name with disrespect, because she is listening. She has always been listening. And she remembers every insult, every slight, every mocking word. And she collects her debts. The Bell Witch haunting began in 1817, when John Bell, a respected farmer and community leader, encountered a strange animal on his property. It looked like a dog with a rabbit's head. When John shot at it, the creature vanished. That night, the Bell family heard noises, knocking on the walls, scratching inside the house, the sound of chains being dragged across the floor. The disturbances escalated rapidly. Invisible hands pulled covers off beds. Unseen forces slapped the children. Objects moved on their own. And then came the voice. At first, it was whispers, hissing, sinister, unintelligible. Within weeks, it had developed into clear speech. Multiple voices, actually. It could mimic anyone perfectly. It sang hymns in beautiful soprano. It cursed in vulgar tones. It spoke in languages the Bells had never heard. The entity identified itself as Kate Batts, a neighbor with whom John Bell had a bitter land dispute. "I am Kate Batts Witch," the voice proclaimed, "and I have come to torment John Bell to his death." But later, it changed its story, claiming to be a spirit of a murdered woman, or a demon, or something else entirely. It seemed to delight in deception, in keeping its true nature hidden behind layers of lies and contradictions. What made the Bell Witch haunting unique was its publicity. This wasn't a family suffering in isolation. The entity encouraged visitors. It performed for crowds. Andrew Jackson himself came to investigate in 1819, bringing a wagon full of men to confront the witch. The wagon stopped inexplicably on the Bell property, wheels locked despite the horses straining. A voice from nowhere laughed and said, "Go ahead, General. I'll speak with you tonight." That night, one of Jackson's men, a self-proclaimed witch layer who'd brought silver bullets, was tormented by the entity. His nose was twisted, his hair pulled, his body thrown around the room by invisible hands. Jackson's entire party fled the next morning. The general was quoted saying, "I'd rather fight the British at New Orleans again than deal with the Bell Witch." The haunting continued for 4 years. The entity focused its primary rage on John Bell. It poisoned his food, causing convulsions and strange tongue-swelling episodes. It struck him unconscious, It shouted curses at him constantly. In December 1820, John Bell died in agony. The entity sang victory songs throughout his funeral. Then it claimed, "I am going now, but I shall return in 107 years." After the haunting ended, the Bell family tried to move forward. They sold the property. The new owners reported occasional disturbances, but nothing like the original terror. The Bell, which became legend, story, folklore, until explorers discovered something on the property in the 1880s, a cave. A deep, winding limestone cavern that the Bells had never known existed, hidden by vegetation and rock falls. A cave that local slaves and Native Americans had always avoided. A cave they called the Mouth of Evil. A cave where Kate had always lived. The Bell farmhouse had just been built too close. John Bell had disturbed something that should have been left alone. And when 1928 arrived, 107 years after Kate's departure, the cave began to speak again. The first modern disturbances at Bell Witch Cave were reported in 1928 by the property owner, Bill Eden. He'd begun giving tours of the cave to tourists, capitalizing on the Bell Witch legend. At first, the tours were uneventful, just a limestone cave with historical significance. Then visitors started reporting experiences, cold spots that had no explanation, the feeling of being watched from the darkness beyond the lantern light, the sound of whispers echoing from deeper in the cave where no one else was exploring, and occasionally, rarely, but with increasing frequency, a voice. Female, clear, angry. One tourist, Margaret Holmes from Nashville, recorded in her diary from August 1928, "We were 50 feet into the cave when I heard her. A woman's voice, cultured but filled with venom, saying, 'You come to gawk at my home? You come to laugh at my legend? I am no legend. I am real. I am here, and you will remember me.' I thought it was a trick, a recording Mr. Eden had set up. But he heard it too. His face went white. He rushed us out of the cave immediately. Later, he swore he'd installed no such device. The disturbances intensified through the 1930s. Tourists who mocked the Bell Witch legend, who laughed in the cave, who called Kate a hoax, who challenged her to show herself, began experiencing what the locals called the curse. They would leave the cave seemingly fine. Then within days or weeks, misfortune would strike. Cars would malfunction in ways mechanics couldn't explain. Houses would be plagued by disturbances, knocking, objects moving, the smell of rot appearing in random rooms. People would fall ill with mysterious ailments that doctors couldn't diagnose. And always, the victims would report hearing a voice. Kate's voice, laughing, reminding them that she'd promised vengeance on mockers. In 1934, a college student named Robert Tanner visited the cave with friends. They were fraternity brothers, drunk, looking for thrills. Deep in the cave, Robert shouted, "Kate! Kate Batts! You're a fraud. You're a story told to children. Show yourself, you coward witch." His friends laughed nervously. The cave was silent. Robert shouted again, his voice echoing, "Nothing. See? There's nothing here." The Bell Witches, the lights went out. All of them. 5 lanterns extinguished simultaneously as if a great wind had blown through the cave. But there was no wind. Just sudden, absolute darkness and a cold so intense it hurt to breathe. Then came the voice, not echoing from the cave depths, but speaking directly into Robert's ear, though nothing visible was beside him. "You will regret those words, boy. You will regret them every day until you die. And you will die remembering my name." The lights flickered back on. Robert's friends found him unconscious, his face pale, his body ice cold. They carried him out. Robert seemed to recover, dismissed the experience as a prank or hallucination. But 3 days later, he fell down a flight of stairs in his dormitory, broke his neck, survived but was paralyzed from the waist down. For the next 40 years, until his death in 1974, Robert Tanner told anyone who would listen, "I feel her. Every day, an invisible presence pressing down on me, whispering things I can't quite hear, reminding me that she's there, that she's always there, that this is her punishment. Don't mock the Bell Witch. Please, God, don't make the same mistake I did." The escalation reached its peak in the 1950s when a Nashville newspaper reporter named James Whitaker decided to expose the bell, which is a hoax. He published a series of articles mocking the legend, interviewing skeptics, presenting rational explanations for every supernatural claim. He visited Bell, which caved 3 times, recording his experiences, finding nothing unusual. On his 4th visit, in November 1955, James went alone. He wanted to spend the night in the cave to prove once and for all that nothing supernatural occurred there. He brought a sleeping bag, a battery-powered lantern, recording equipment, and a smug sense of superiority. He descended into the cave at dusk, set up his equipment, and settled in to wait. His body was found at dawn by the property caretaker. James was alive but catatonic, staring at nothing, his mouth moving silently. The recording equipment was destroyed, smashed, as if something had taken a hammer to every piece. The only thing that still worked was his tape recorder, and it had captured something. For 3 hours, the tape recorded silence. Then, at 2:47 a.m., a voice emerged. Female, cultured, dripping with contempt. "Mr. Whitaker, James, you came to disprove me. You came with your machines and your mockery. Shall I show you what I am? Shall I give you proof? Shall I let you see with your own eyes what has lived in this cave for 2 centuries?" The sound that followed wasn't quite screaming. It was beyond screaming. James' voice rising in pitch and terror, making sounds the human throat shouldn't produce. And beneath his screams, the voice, Kate's voice, laughing. Not human laughter. Something that used laughter to express emotions humanity had no names for. The recording ended with Kate speaking one final time. "You will write no more articles about me. You will speak my name with respect, or I will return, and next time, I will not be merciful." James Whitaker never wrote another word. He recovered physically, but never spoke again. He spent the final 43 years of his life in a mental institution, a man who'd seen something that had shattered his ability to process reality. The newspaper tried to suppress the story, but the tape recording leaked. Copies circulated. Most were destroyed by those who heard them, too disturbing to keep. But some remain, hidden in private collections, a testament to what happened when a skeptic pushed too far. After James Whitaker's breakdown, the stories from Bell, which cave changed. The entity was no longer simply causing disturbances. It was demonstrating power, intent, a personality that was coherent, malicious, and far older than Kate Batts could possibly be. In 1961, a group of teenagers broke into the cave after hours. They spray-painted graffiti on the walls. "Kate is fake. The bell, which is bullshit. Show yourself, coward." They laughed and drank beer and thought themselves brave. Then, as they prepared to leave, the cave entrance collapsed. Just collapsed. Tons of rock falling, sealing the teenagers inside. They screamed. They pounded on the rocks. They tried to dig through, but the collapse was too complete. They were trapped. For 12 hours, they waited in darkness, their flashlights dying one by one. And in that darkness, they heard her. Kate spoke to each of them individually, whispering their deepest secrets, their most shameful fears. She described their futures, the accidents, the illnesses, the tragedies that would befall them. She explained, in meticulous detail, how she would destroy their lives piece by piece as punishment for their disrespect. When rescue teams finally cleared the entrance, they found the teenagers huddled together, sobbing, broken. None of them ever spoke about what Kate had told them, but every single one of them experienced exactly the tragedies she'd predicted. Car crashes, cancers, house fires, failed marriages, suicides, as if she'd cursed them, and the curse was ironclad and inescapable. One of those teenagers, Sarah Chun, survived until 2019. Before her death from pancreatic cancer, she gave one interview. "Kate told me I'd die of cancer at age 71. She told me that in 1961, when I was 16, she was specific, pancreatic, inoperable, painful, and here I am, 71, dying exactly as she predicted." The bell, which isn't a ghost story. It's a force, something that exists outside time. that can see futures and pasts, that takes pleasure in human suffering. Don't go to that cave. Don't speak her name, because she's real. God help us, she's real. The witness accounts from Bell, which cave spanned decades, but they follow disturbing patterns. People who respect the legend, who enter the cave with proper deference, generally experience only minor phenomena: cold spots, strange sounds, the feeling of being watched. But those who mock, who challenge, who enter with disrespect inevitably encounter something worse. In 1978, a documentary crew visited the cave, intending to film a segment debunking supernatural claims. The lead investigator, Dr. Marcus Webb, was a staunch rationalist. He'd investigated dozens of allegedly haunted locations and found mundane explanations for every phenomenon. He expected Bell, which cave, to be no different. The crew set up cameras throughout the cave, monitoring equipment, infrared sensors. Dr. Webb stood in the main chamber and announced loudly, "If there's an entity here calling itself Kate, I challenge you to provide evidence. Real, measurable, scientific evidence. Not tricks or echoes or suggestion. Real proof. Because I don't believe you exist." For 10 minutes, nothing happened. DR. Webb smiled at the cameras, ready to declare the experiment a failure. Then every piece of equipment malfunctioned simultaneously. Cameras stopped recording. Lights went out. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in less than 10 seconds, and Dr. Webb began to levitate. The crew watched in horror as DR. Webb rose 6 feet off the ground, suspended by nothing visible. His body twisted, joints bending in ways joints shouldn't bend. He screamed as invisible hands gripped him, as something whispered directly into his brain. The experience lasted 30 seconds. Then Dr. Webb was dropped, falling hard onto the stone floor, breaking his arm. The crew fled. The footage they captured is some of the most disturbing evidence of paranormal activity ever recorded. It shows Dr. Webb rising, rotating slowly in midair, his body contorting. And on the audio track, barely audible beneath his screams, a woman's voice can be heard. "You demanded proof, doctor. Are you satisfied? Or shall I continue your education?" Dr. Webb never fully recovered. He left academia, abandoned his skepticism, and became a recluse. In rare interviews, he speaks of the bell, which with genuine terror. It wasn't a ghost. Ghosts don't have that kind of power. It was something else. Something that's been alive for centuries. Something that feeds on disrespect and doubt. It showed me things, futures where I continue to mock it. In those futures, I died. Horribly. It was giving me a choice. Shut up or die. I chose to shut up. A family from Michigan visited the cave in 1989. The father, Thomas Bradley, was a fundamentalist Christian who believed all hauntings were demonic. He entered the cave carrying a Bible, intent on casting out the Bell Witch. He stood in the deepest chamber and began reading exorcism prayers, commanding the demon to leave in Jesus' name. The cave responded. Stones began to fall from the ceiling. Not a collapse, but individual rocks dropping with precision, forming a circle around Thomas. The voice emerged, loud enough that his entire family heard it. "Your God has no power here. This is my domain. I was here before your prophets. I will be here after your religion crumbles to dust. You are an insect. You are nothing. Get out of my home." Thomas continued praying, his voice shaking. The rocks began to levitate, circling him, moving faster. One struck his shoulder. Another hit his leg. His family begged him to stop, to leave. Thomas refused, convinced his faith would protect him. He raised the Bible above his head and shouted, "I command you, demon," in the name of. The Bible burst into flames. In his hands, spontaneous combustion with no apparent source. Thomas dropped it, screaming, his palms burned. The flames spread to the ground, burning in patterns that formed words, "never return." The Bradley family ran. Thomas's hands healed, but he never spoke about the incident publicly. Privately, to his church, he said, "What's in that cave isn't a demon. Demons I understand. Demons follow rules. That thing, it's older than the rules. Older than the forces that made the rules." We have no defense against it except silence and distance. In 2003, a paranormal investigation team called Spirit Seekers visited the cave with advanced equipment and plenty of attitude. They'd built a reputation debunking hauntings, exposing frauds. They entered Bell Witch Cave confident they'd find the same. Tricks and suggestion, nothing more. For hours later, 3 of the 5 investigators ran out of the cave, abandoning their equipment, abandoning their colleagues. The 2 who stayed behind were found unconscious. When revived, they had no memory of the previous 4 hours. But the equipment, the cameras that hadn't been destroyed, captured something extraordinary. Footage shows the 5 investigators in the cave's main chamber. They're mocking the legend, laughing, making jokes about Kate. Then, one by one, their expressions change. They're hearing something the cameras don't pick up, seeing something off camera. The 2 who eventually ran can be seen backing away, terror replacing mockery. Then the 2 who lost consciousness simply collapse, as if someone had flipped a switch turning off their brains. In the footage's final moments, something appears. Not clearly, just a distortion in the air, a suggestion of form. Human shape but wrong. And on the audio, a woman's voice speaking directly to the camera. Tell others what you've seen. Tell them I am here. Tell them I am waiting. Tell them the bell, which keeps her promises. Always. The cave remains a tourist attraction today, owned and operated by the descendants of the Bell family. They offer tours, tell the stories, maintain the site. But they're careful. They post rules. They warn visitors. They make clear that while tourism is welcome, disrespect is not. The rules are simple. Don't mock the legend. Don't challenge Kate. Don't take anything from the cave. Don't write on the walls. Speak respectfully or don't speak at all. Most visitors follow these rules. Most leave with nothing more than a good story and some atmospheric photographs. But some don't listen. Some think they know better. Some believe in the 21st century, in the age of science and reason, that old curses hold no power. Those people learn differently. They learn that some things are older than science, stronger than reason, and infinitely patient. The current property owner, Walter Eden, has kept records since taking over in 1998. He documents every incident, every disturbance, every report of the curse manifesting. His files contain hundreds of cases. A teenager who carved Kate Sucks into the cave wall developed a degenerative nerve condition. A blogger who wrote a mocking article about the bell, which died in a freak accident 3 weeks later. A documentary producer who staged a fake haunting in the cave lost her sight overnight. No medical cause, just sudden, permanent blindness. People think it's coincidence, Walter says. They think I'm making connections where none exist. But I've seen the pattern. I've watched it for 20 years. Mock Kate, and bad things happen. Not might happen, will happen. It's as reliable as gravity. She makes examples of people. She wants the legend to continue. She wants people to respect it, because respect keeps them away, and she likes her privacy. Walter himself has never experienced anything negative. He's respectful, maintains the cave with care, treats the legend as sacred. But he's heard Kate. Once, late at night, when he was alone in the cave checking for damage after a storm. He heard her voice, clear as if she were standing beside him. You're a good caretaker, Walter. You understand. Stay respectful, and we'll have no problems. But if you ever doubt me, if you ever think to profit from mocking my story, I will remind you that this is my home. Not yours, mine. Walter left quickly that night, and he's never doubted since. The Bell Witch Cave tours continue. Thousands visit each year. Most leave unscathed. But the cursed ones, the mockers, the skeptics, the ones who won't listen, they leave with something else. A mark, a target, a promise that Kate will remember them. And she always keeps her promises. Theories attempting to explain the Bell Witch phenomenon range from the psychological to the paranormal to the cosmically strange. Skeptics argue mass hysteria, suggestion, and coincidence. Believers argue genuine haunting, demonic possession, or poltergeist activity. But none of these theories fully explain the consistency of the phenomenon, the specificity of the curses, the demonstrable power of whatever inhabits that cave. Psychologists have proposed that the bell, which is a thought form, a tulpa created by collective belief. 2 centuries of people believing in Kate have given her reality, made her real through sheer force of communal conviction. But this theory fails to explain the original haunting in 1817, when belief was minimal. And it fails to explain how a thought form can physically assault people, levitate objects, predict futures with accuracy. Paranormal researchers suggest Kate is a genuine spirit, either of a human who died with unfinished business or an inhuman entity that has always existed. The cave, in this theory, is a thin place, a location where the barrier between worlds is weak, allowing spirits to cross over and interact with the physical realm. But even this theory struggles with Kate's power level. Most spirits can barely move a cup. Kate can levitate humans, start fires, cause equipment to malfunction, and apparently curse people with specific, inevitable tragedies. A more disturbing theory comes from Dr. Helen Vance, a researcher who studied the bell witch extensively in the 1990s before her mysterious death. Dr. Vance proposed that Kate isn't a ghost or demon, but something far older, a terrestrial intelligence that predates humanity. The cave system in Tennessee is ancient, she wrote. Millions of years old. What if something evolved there? Something that exists partially in our dimension and partially in others? Something that perceives time differently, that can see past and future simultaneously? The entity calls itself Kate, but that's just a name it adopted for convenience. What it really is, we may never understand. Dr. Vance's theory suggests that the original Bell haunting occurred because John Bell's farm disturbed the entity's primary habitat, the cave. Kate tormented the family as punishment and warning. When the haunting ended, Kate retreated to the cave, her true home. And there she's remained, becoming territorial, punishing anyone who disrespects her domain. The curses aren't supernatural, Dr. Vance concluded. They're causal. Kate exists outside linear time. She sees the futures where she's mocked, and she takes actions to ensure those mockers suffer. From our perspective, it looks like magic. Curse someone, and they have bad luck. But from Kate's perspective, it's simple cause and effect. You disrespect me. I adjust probabilities to ensure you're suffering. I don't break the laws of physics. I manipulate them in ways humans haven't discovered yet. Dr. Vance died in a car accident in 1997, 3 months after publishing her theory. The accident was strange. Her car veered off the road despite clear weather, good visibility, and no apparent mechanical failure. In her vehicle, investigators found a note in her handwriting. Kate visited me last night, told me I was close to the truth. Too close. Told me to stop researching or face consequences. I won't stop. Some things are more important than safety. If I die, know that I was right. She's real. She's ancient. And she's far more terrifying than any ghost story. The indigenous peoples of Tennessee have their own explanations. Cherokee legends speak of the Nunahai, immortal spirit people who live in caves and under mountains. They're not evil, but they're territorial and expect respect, violate their spaces, and they exact punishment. The Bell Witch, in Cherokee interpretation, is a Nunahai who has been disturbed repeatedly over centuries and has lost patience with human intrusion. But the most chilling theory comes from cave explorers who've mapped the Bell Witch cave system. The main tourist cave extends about 500 feet into the hillside. But using ground-penetrating radar and sonar, explorers have discovered that the cave system goes much deeper, perhaps miles deeper. There are chambers no human has ever entered, passages that descend into the earth at steep angles, spaces that seem to have been carved rather than formed by natural erosion. It's like something lived down there, one spelunker reported, like something made a home in those deep places. And the tourist cave? That's just the entrance. The foyer. Kate doesn't live in the parts we visit. She lives in the deep chambers. And occasionally, she comes up to check on her front door, to see who's knocking, to remind us that we're visitors in her domain, and visitors should be polite. Bell Witch Cave today stands as a monument to the power of legend, or to the reality of forces beyond human understanding. The debate continues. Skeptics and believers argue, but the cave doesn't care about arguments. The cave simply is, and Kate, whatever she is, continues her vigil. Visitors in recent years report experiences that match historical accounts with disturbing precision. Cold spots in the same locations. Voices that echo the same phrases. The same warnings, the same threats, the same demonstrations of power. As if Kate is consistent across centuries, unchanging, eternal. In 2015, a ghost hunting show filmed an episode at Bell Witch Cave. They entered with the usual mix of equipment and skepticism. Midway through filming, one of the hosts, a man named Derek Stone who'd made his reputation debunking hauntings, challenged Kate to appear. "Show yourself," he shouted. "Prove you're real, or admit you're just a story." The temperature dropped. The cameras captured it, from 68 degrees to 34 degrees in 5 seconds. Derek's breath misted. Ice formed on the cave walls. And then, on camera, clear as day, a voice. "You want proof? Very well. You will go home tonight and find your house in disarray. Nothing stolen, nothing broken, but your possessions rearranged, your photos turned to face the walls, your mirrors covered, and in your bedroom, you will find a message written in dust on your ceiling. I was here. I am real. Mock me again, and I will do worse." Derek laughed nervously. They finished filming. The crew left. Derek flew home to California. When he entered his house, he found exactly what Kate had described. Every item rearranged, every photo turned, every mirror covered, and on his bedroom ceiling, written in dust, "I was here. I am real. Mock me again, and I will do worse." Derek Stone quit the show, sold his house, moved to a different state. In online forums, he wrote, "I don't know what she is. I don't care what she is. I just know that she's real, she's powerful, and she keeps her promises. Don't go to that cave thinking you'll prove something. Don't challenge her. Don't mock her, because she'll accept that challenge, and you will lose." The cave continues to draw visitors. Some come for history, some come for thrills, some come to challenge the legend. Those who come respectfully usually leave with a good experience, a story to tell, perhaps a strange feeling or two, but nothing harmful. Those who come with mockery leave with something else. A mark, a target, a promise that Kate hasn't forgotten. The Bell family descendants who own the property have considered closing the cave permanently, shutting it down, sealing it, letting nature reclaim it. But they're afraid of what Kate might do if her cave is sealed. Afraid that cutting off her access to visitors might anger her, might cause her to spread beyond the cave, to return to the farmlands, to haunt the living world with the same fury she displayed in 1817. So the cave remains open. The tours continue. The warnings are given. And Kate waits in the darkness, patient and eternal, ready to punish the next fool who doesn't believe, ready to demonstrate, once again, that the Bell, which is no legend. She is real, she is waiting, and she always keeps her promises. So we ask you this: are there places where the past never dies? Where grudges are held for centuries? Where something, someone, watches from the darkness and remembers every slight, every insult, every act of disrespect? In a limestone cave in Tennessee, an entity that calls itself Kate has demonstrated for 200 years that mockery has consequences, that some legends are warnings, that some stories are true. The Bell Witch Cave stands open. You can visit. You can walk into the darkness where Kate lives. You can stand in the chambers where she's cursed skeptics and punished mockers. But before you enter, ask yourself, do you believe? And if you don't, are you willing to bet your life on your disbelief? Because Kate is listening. She's always listening, and she has all the time in the world to collect her debts. The curse is real. The voice in the darkness is real. The consequences of mockery are real. 2 centuries of evidence prove it. 2 centuries of broken skeptics and cursed challengers and ruined lives prove it. Would you dare to speak her name in that cave? Would you dare to challenge her? Would you risk becoming the next example, the next story, the next warning to those who come after? If you enjoyed this terrifying journey into the unknown, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Join us again, only on STF Horror Vault.